From the Neighborhood Master Allen. I grabbed this comment off of a previous video where I spent a lot of time talking about radicalization within the Star Wars fandom, but like radicalization in general. And there are folks like my friend who are experiencing the negative output, the attacks, the toxicity, however you want to describe it, from the segments of the fandom or segments of society that have been radicalized, and they are expressing their dismay about having to shovel bullshit out of their comment section. So by the nature of the group's goals, and so whether we want to think about right-wing extremists or if we just want to think about everybody participating in the pipeline, you can't win a fight with them, because no matter how you fight them, they are getting something that they want or something that they can use to continue to make the world worse. And now you are more physically, mentally, and emotionally exhausted from having to deal with it, and they will attack individual creators as a group. And it's not going to be coordinated by some mastermind. It is coordinated, again, more like a terrorist cell. And so a group of them will go someplace to pick one individual that for them represents the ideology that they feel like attacked them first, or that they feel like is trying to take something from them or whatever. So then that individual will be bombarded. And that individual, kind of no matter what happens, is going to feel like they are surrounded by the kind of chaotic unpleasantness that makes it not worth it to stay open. And then, because of the way that the algorithms work and the way that they serve up content and all the stuff that I talked about in the other video, even if you shift to make a different type of content about something else for a little while, you are still going to be dealing with them in the comments of whichever video it was that sort of kicked it off that they decided to target. Now it becomes useful to think about them in terms of bullying, because if there is one person that is bullying someone else, so we have two parties and one person is having to suffer the wrath of the bully. If a third person comes up to yell at or fight the bully, it doesn't make that other person feel any safer or any better, generally. It just adds more danger happening around them. And so the way that you can help if you are the third person isn't to engage aggressively with the person that's violating social contract. It is to engage positively with the other person and give them a pathway to tune out or escape. Stop me if you've heard this one before. Saving what we love, not destroying what we hate. We're not going to fight this out of existence. We're not going to eradicate this from the Star Wars fandom until we do the work within society to eradicate it in society. And right now, stuff is significantly worse than an average run-of-the-mill. America's far right or the internet's far right are being dicks to everyone and making it everybody's problem. And no matter the outcome of the election, following the election, there is going to be a spike in the awfulness. Because it isn't Trump and it isn't Trumpism. This is one of the things where on the left we kind of lose sight of what the engine to this particular horrible machine actually is. Trump was in the position that he was in 2015 and 2016, not because this group liked what he had to say and believed what he had to say. He was telling them what they wanted to hear the way they wanted to hear it. It's not the leader, it's not the head of a snake that you can just chop off. The public face, whether it's a social media creator that we want to list or a political figure or whatever, it's not the head of a snake, it's the capstone of a pyramid. So if you chop it off, everything that makes the pyramid is still there. And then putting a new capstone on top of it is just a matter of someone that is already within the community or was already doing some of what those people wanted, doing more of it in a prominent enough way that they get lifted to the top. The thing that becomes hard to remember is that the nastiness, the vitriol, the real threat of violence, the real threat is not the individual. All that individual does is direct the threat to a certain extent. It's just people. And it is so much easier to call them dumbasses or call them buffoons or call them ridicule them for being taken in by the grift or whatever, but that fundamentally misunderstands the nature of the dynamic. Think about all the times Donald Trump has said things that weren't popular amongst his base. When vaccines for COVID finally started rolling out, Trump really wanted that to be a feather in his cap. He wanted that to be something that he got credit for. And nobody on the left gave a fuck that Trump was in charge while it got developed. And everybody on the right still thought that the vaccine was part of some 5G conspiracy thing. So what do? You can't win a fight with them, don't try. Seek your positive connections that you know about. Engage with other creators that want to talk about stuff in the way that you want to, because then that creates bastions of safety for all of the fandom that don't want to be stuck with these people. So even when people say shit that's just wrong, you gotta just let them be wrong. I struggle with that one a lot. And you're not gonna throw words at it and make it change. Because the problem isn't about words or about an inability to understand words. It's about an inability to process feelings. Because they can fight you all day. They will never get tired because they're not fighting you. They are escaping their sadness. And the amount of stamina a human being can have to be in a discussion where they get to escape their sadness. So as a father and a teacher and a mentor, something I can do is help build better men that know how to process their feelings, that have healthy coping mechanisms and self-awareness. And as a friend, I can connect people to comments from my friends so that more eyes will see these comments to engage within it positively, rather than it to be a battlefield for people to survive their misery. It's not going to be over in my lifetime. It's not going to be over in my kids' lifetime. But if I don't do a part of the work now, if I don't do part of the work in my lifetime, then nothing gets better. It only gets worse. See, because these groups of people, they can go and they can attack an individual creator, and they can put such pressure on that individual that they look at themselves and decide whether or not they want to keep doing it. But then the rest of the fandom can't go into these extreme right places and fight them there to cause them to lose territory, because the thing they want is a fight. And if the fight is happening in their own backyard, then not only do they not have to go anywhere to fight, but it feeds their perception that they are the victims in all of this to begin with. The far right has been making incremental progress for decades. It doesn't matter if all of this would go away if people would just do the right thing. There's this old joke about an engineer, a physicist, and an economist that are trapped on a desert island. And they got one can of beans. And so the engineer finds this rock and is like, I'm going to hit the can of beans over and over and over again until we split the thing open, and then we'll be able to eat something. And the physicist is like, no, that's a stupid idea. We should rig up a pulley system. You pull the beans up and then drop them down onto the rock, because otherwise you're going to use so much more energy breaking the can open that you won't get that energy back from eating the beans. We'd have been better off if we hadn't done it. And they argue about this for an entire fucking day, until finally they are sitting at the camp and they turn to the economist and they say, what do you think we should do? And the economist says, well, assuming we have a can opener, functionally every inequality that we have in society, all of the cruelty, all of it, none of it should exist. If more people cared about more people, we would have zero of that shit to shovel. But that's like assuming that we have a can opener. Because the thing about utopia is that you never actually get there. The thing that makes a society a utopia is the persistent improvement over time. You're never done getting better. And if society has the attitude of trying to get a little bit better, incrementally better all the time, so long as you are pointed in the right direction, the size of your steps doesn't matter.